Hello guys, we're gonna look at this first problem. We are gonna rewrite this general form of a quadratic function into standard form. Now the standard form means this form a times x minus h squared plus k, right? And then this h k, this pair gives you the coordinates of the vertex. Now, of course, if generally speaking, if you have a quadratic function, and then the x-intercepts are given by the quadratic formula, which is negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. I believe most of you are able to remember this formula. Now the shortcuts for you to find the standard form, which is the vertex form right here, is actually you can quickly identify the axis of the symmetry, so which is this part, right? And what is this? This actually, geometrically speaking, is the right here. This is where the vertex is located, and you should it should make sense because how do you find those two x-intercepts? You're gonna add and plus some add and plus from this center, which is the line of symmetry of this piece, then you get to those two x-intercepts. So my point is just to convince you that you should note that, take advantage of what you already remember. The first part of this formula gives you the axis of the symmetry, which is your h value, basically, which is your h value. So now with that little explanation, I'm gonna just apply that right now. So how do we find the h? H is actually negative negative b over 2a, right? So my negative b is actually negative 8. 2 times a is 2 times 2, so you get the negative 2. So now with that h being negative 2, you can quickly narrow it down to these two problems. And then how do we find the k? So now again, one more time, this is generic quadratic, a graph of quadratic function. So when you have once you find this line of axis, in our case x is equal to negative 2, but in general this is your h, right? And then how do you find the k? What is your k? K is right here. K is your vertex. So isn't that the k is the function value when x is h? So in other words, once I find the h, which is in our case, which is negative 2, right? H is equal to negative 2, and I can quickly find my k by plugging in negative 2 into this function. In this case will be, because we call the function as h, so it's coincidence here. This h, this first h means our axis of the symmetry, but this is the function h given here. So h of negative 2, that's what you need to evaluate, which gives you 2 times negative 2 squared plus 8 times negative 2 minus 10. I'll leave you to do the algebra, but this is supposed to be your k, and therefore you're gonna find your vertex, right? And once you find the vertex, you should be able to just quickly write the standard form, because when you write that this is your a is equal to 2. So once you know the a, h is negative 2, that's what we had found. And then k is just you need to do the algebra to find the k using this function, right? And then your this general form can be written as a, which is 2 times x minus h. So you have to be careful here because your h is actually negative 2. You want to use parentheses and then square plus whatever the k that you just found. Okay, so that should be that should provide you enough information to find the standard form and the vertex. Now that was approach number 1. Now to find the approach number to use approach number 2, and we can complete the square. Okay, let's do the complete the square. I do feel that this is somewhat pretty useful approach, and I somehow encourage you to at least try. So this is what I would do. So I'm gonna factor out the 2, uh, and then so I'm left with x squared plus 4x, and of course we still have minus 10, right? So I'm gonna say minus 10 here. So what you see is I first group the first 2 terms and factor out the 2. The reason I want to do that is I want to complete a square. So if you look at this middle term, it's 4x. Divide 4 by 2, you get 2. So basically what I'm missing here, what I need here is 2 square. Where's the 2 from? 2 is coming from 4 divided by 2. This square is always going to be square because I want to make a complete square. And then after that, because I added 2 square, I have to subtract 2 square to keep the original function equivalent to the given one, right? So now after that, I'm gonna regroup. I'll keep all these terms together because that's my perfect square. So 2x squared plus 4x plus 2 square. Now the last term, I'm gonna distribute my 2, so distributes 2 here, so minus 2 times 2 square, right? And then minus 10. Okay, now it is equal to 2 times x, so this is a perfect square, so x plus 2 square minus, and then you can do a little algebra here, this is 18. So lastly, how do I so this is basically the standard form. Lastly, I hope that you're comfortable with identifying your age. Think of this as x minus the negative 2, right? So therefore your age is actually negative 2. So you do you just use complete the square, you find the vertex and the standard form all at once. All right, probably just to be on the safe side, because when we look at the perfect square, we are actually applying this relationship here, right? A plus or minus b square, quantity square, is equal to a square plus 2ab plus b square. So we use this backwards to write that as a complete square. So this is the hint for this particular problem.